Hey everybody, welcome to episode 6 of Basement Sports Talk. We're going to be talking to you tonight about some Kentucky recruiting real quick. Then we're going to transition into Kentucky football and basketball rivalries, what we consider a true rival, see how the guys differ on that. Then we're going to start talking some NFL ball. We're going to be talking about Andy Dalton and his trip down to Dallas. We're going to talk about Jarrett Stidham and what's going on up in New England. We're also going to talk to you guys today about the most anticipated games of the season for us. Me, Chris, and Tyler are going to be talking about Kentucky, obviously, Damien's Michigan. And then we're going to take away from our ties to the teams that we're loyal to and just talk about the game we're most excited just to watch on TV, just to watch as a football fan, because I think we're all excited for sports to get back on. Ty, I'm going to start with you, buddy. What's going on the recruiting trail for Kentucky basketball?
Well, buddy, first of all, I'd like to give you a shout out on your newly engagement there. Happy for you. Wish you guys all the best.
Appreciate it.
But getting straight into recruiting here, we got the boy possibly from Evansville. We cut the schools down, and we was on his list. 6'9", DeAndre Williams, I think was his name there. I watched some of his highlights. Pretty good player. Of course, they beat us. He played pretty good against us, and 6'9". That's big.
Yeah, it's big for us. We need our front court to get some height.
Yeah, definitely good. And the boy from Wake Forest, man, the Sar.
Yep.
He would be the biggest. He's honestly probably, in my opinion, the biggest transfer name in the portal right now.
Yeah.
I mean, if you ask me, we as Kentucky is obviously needing a center, and I think he would definitely be fit into our system well. I think he averaged 14 points a game at Wake Forest, right at it, and like 9 rebounds. I mean, that's what we are being missing. You take a guy with 14 points every game, 9, 10 rebounds as a center down low, and that's going to fill Nick's shoes as Nick departs from us. And, I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully we can get him, man.
Yeah, and that would definitely help out our front court. Also helping out our front court, some reporters came out, and they're talking about some of not the biggest misses, but the guys they thought were a little underrated in recruiting. Isaiah Jackson was on a couple of guys' list. They said that he was underranked. They believe that he could have jumped a couple spots in overall recruiting. So, Kentucky has to be hopeful, and the fans have to be hopeful that, we're getting not necessarily a diamond in the rough. He's still a 5-star guy, but someone that we didn't anticipate getting originally. Dad, how do you think that's going to affect Kentucky if Isaiah Jackson does end up being a surprise guy?
Yeah, I think it's going to benefit him. I think we talked about him in the first couple of podcasts. He's a really springy guy, very athletic. He needs to gain probably 20 to 30 pounds, though, to be what I would consider a dominant inside guy. But I think he would be good if he does a little bit better than we expect. When it goes into recruiting here lately with Kentucky basketball, we all know that we need bodies right now. And it seems like every day another transfer or another somebody else is in the portal. It's kind of almost like I'm waiting for the dust to settle. I think the Evansville kid would be a pretty good pickup. I don't think he is a graduate transfer, so I think he might have to sit out a year. But with the Walter McCarty issue, him being fired, the NCAA does show some leniency there. They may give him automatic eligibility. So I think he could help. Bodies, we need bodies. I don't think we can be too choosy in who we get right now.
Yeah, Damien, I'll bring me to you. Do you think – look, we got an Evansville transfer. We got a Wake Forest transfer. They're good players in their conference, respectfully. They're good individual players. But even with their addition or the lack of their addition, do you think Kentucky's ceiling right now is still kind of set and we kind of are what we are and we can make it a little better, but we're still pretty much going to be the same team regardless?
I think the Sar kid could actually help us. I think he comes in and is an immediate impact player. He would replace Nick Pritchard's. He gets to the foul line a lot. He's very consistent from the foul line. Averages over 70% from the line. Puts the line 8 to 10 times per game. He's played against Duke, North Carolina, legit competition. Evansville kid, I'm sure he's good. He's got some good numbers. He is coming off of an injury. He missed their last 14 games, I think it was. And, of course, they lost their last 19 games of the year, playing against lesser competition than the ACC, obviously. But we do need bodies. He's 6'8". The kid's probably going to come in hungry, obviously. So we need the bodies, but I would prefer to have the star kid over either one of them. But we're in a position where we can take both of them.
Yeah, it's crazy
Absolutely.
to think that us four here, we're talking about how we need bodies and we need numbers, and we're scared about being barely a top 25 team in all actuality. But you get on Twitter this past week, they had ESPN and all other basketball sources on Twitter tweeting about how Kentucky's got the best class coming in and how Swaggy Cal's back, how we're going to be loaded. But you look a little deeper into that, and we're going to have some good talent, but as far as loaded, it definitely raises some questions. As we all know, the coronavirus is still affecting people, but it's starting to lighten up as far as states, loosening the restrictions. We're getting more restaurants and gyms. I went to the gym this morning. They told you to wear a mask. No one wore a mask. I think that's how it's going to end up being for a lot of things. But, football season's on the horizon. A lot of people are writing columns on how the NFL and college footballers need to accept that, we might have a season, but it's not going to be the same quality. Just given time off campus, limited practice hours. But it is looking like a lot of athletic directors have been talking about school coming back and then football happening. So that's something to look forward to. Dad, I'll start with you. What's your most anticipated game for the season for the Wildcats in football?
I think the most anticipated, and I think it's going to not only kind of tell us where we're at as far as the season goes, but also kind of where we're at as a program, just to be honest with you. And I think it's that the game. I think it's November 7th when we play Tennessee. And I know we had Tennessee. I'd never bet that we're going to beat Tennessee, but I really believe over the last 3 years we've been better than them every year, better talent. But I think now they are really bringing in some top-level guys. In the last 8 days, I think they've brought in 3 5-stars, 4 4-stars, and 4 or 5 4-stars, something like that. But
they stacked up.
Yeah, irregardless, they got a pretty loaded team. They got a transfer from Georgia that's going to be starting on their offensive line. I think that will really be a good litmus test. If we're 100% healthy, no major injuries, we go in that game and they're 100% healthy, that'll tell us really where we're at as a program. And I think that's the most anticipated game.
Yeah, what do you got, Ty?
Braxton, the schedule, we usually play Florida, usually the second or third game around every year. And I think the Florida game every year, I know it's the second game this year, I know it's, early in the season, but I still think the Florida game has the biggest impact on our season as well as getting us rolling and seeing where we're going to end up. You got Eastern Michigan first, and then Florida, then Kent State. If you can start the season off 3-0, with beating Florida as one of those, that's a daggone good start, and that gets you really pumped up for the season. Let's see where we are.
Yeah, Damian, before we get to you, I'm going to hit on Kentucky. For me, Florida, it's interesting that we're all three going to have different games. For me, I think Florida is very important. Florida's been important the last 4 years. We should have won 3 of the 4. We ended up winning 1 of the 4. Tennessee, obviously, we beat them once. We just can't get over that hump. Consistently beating a team that's not better than us, doesn't have the talent as us. Next year might be a different story, but these last couple of years it hasn't been true. But for me, assuming we have the team that we anticipate, Terry Wilson and not losing a lot of guys on defense, losing Lynn Bowden, but replacing him, we still got A.J. Rose in our stacked running back room. Take care of business at Florida. Not supposed to win that game. It's still at the Swamp. So if we lose that game, I'm not gonna say the season's out. But we should be Tennessee. But I think the game, and we talked about it, getting Kentucky's foothold in the national level and especially across the SEC is walking into a Jordan Hare Stadium and coming out the win against SEC West powerhouse in Auburn. I mean, obviously, when you think SEC West, you think Alabama and LSU, but I think if Kentucky can march into Auburn and get a win there on their turf, that really sends a statement. Because Auburn's are probably ahead of us, but when you look at the West and the East, we'd like to think we're kind of comparable to them as far as how the standings fall at the end of the season, that 3-4 line. So I think if we walk in there, that'd be a really big win to get us cemented in the national game. Damon, we'll go ahead with you. What do you got from Michigan this year?
As far as the Michigan outlook, our first conference game, September 26th, Wisconsin comes to the Big House. They absolutely demolished us last year and embarrassed us on national television. They were up 35-0, and honestly, they called the dogs off in a conference game. Jonathan Taylor ran over for over 200 yards, 2 touchdowns. The backup came in and added another 100 yards and 2 more touchdowns. Pretty embarrassing game on the national TV, but get the game going. We got to get going. Our first game also on the road at Washington. I'm just ready for some football, man. We have some big games. Got a winnable schedule, honestly, up to our last game.
And the coronavirus honestly has you excited for Kentucky to play like the likes of Northern Syria and all the random teams we got scheduled in the middle of the season.
I don't know if this is out. Do we think come September the 5th, 3rd, whatever, people open up, are we going to have fans at the games? What's the consensus?
Don't know and don't care at this point. As long as there's a kickoff at noon or 7 or 3, as long as there's a kickoff.
Yeah, because I got a call today from the UK ticket office, actually, thanking me for renewing my season tickets. And that's one of the questions I asked them. And, of course, they gave the line, look, it's a ways down the road. We're planning – everything we're preparing for is as if we're going to have fans in the stands. I think that's the line. But I got to be honest with you, the way the climate is, and I'm not saying this is the right answer or the wrong answer, I would be very doubtful that our that people that will make that decision will allow that to happen. I think we may be one of the few in the SEC that goes by that too, by the way.
Yeah, well, what I'm going to say is Kentucky, when Kentucky called me about the season tickets, I asked them the same thing, and they pretty much told me, like, look, fully expect to have fans in the stands, have football, but, hey, if we don't, you're going to get a refund. They kind of just threw that in there, try to get off the phone. But one thing, I know y'all I'm literally 2 miles from the state line in Kentucky and Tennessee, but like today I was watching the news, and the states that are like outraged with these sanctions that, like, I was on national news, is on like Good Morning America this morning. They were talking, Kentucky's at the forefront of that, of state that has citizens that are outraged and really are not liking the orders that are getting restricted on them. I know it was like Kentucky, Michigan, a lot of pockets in California are actually getting upset. But, like, every time that conversation's had about who's upset, it's Kentucky. And, like, literally, I'm 2 minutes from the border with Kentucky, and Tennessee right now looks like a normal Friday night. People are at restaurants. I went to the gym this morning. It was normal. The only thing that's different about the gym was the water fountains. You couldn't use the water fountains. But it's business as usual down here, and I think hopefully stuff like that where these other states are not – I'm not saying they're not caring as much, but they're being a little more liberal with their releasing of restrictions, that states like Kentucky, like Michigan was a big one too, like them accepting that, hey, this is what's happening. The other 38 states are doing this. We got to fall in line. So hopefully, Andy and Mitch and the powers be that they make the right decision for TV and for the fans and for the programs, especially with school restarting in August.
Yeah, I thought the school starting in August was big. I think I think that at least gives us hope that, well, if kids are in school in August, there's at least a glimmer of hope. I just honestly will be shocked. I keep hearing we're not doing nothing like that. Even from some of the national stuff, we're not doing anything major like that until we got a vaccine or real positive treatment. So it'll be interesting. And I'm like you all. At the end of the day, if you want to give me a refund for my season tickets, that's fine, as long as somebody's suiting up in September or whatever.
Well, and President Trump said today that there should be a vaccine. It was in 2020, I believe. But he said there should be a vaccine in 2020. This is just a really bad flu season. You got to start, loosening those restrictions and getting back after it. But in our beautiful country, and the way it's, ideally created, that states have a lot of say in that, and he can only do so much as far as enforcing it.
I agree with you, Chris, about the statement about school. If they start postponing school and not starting in August, I'm getting kind of worried, honestly. But, with they definitely saying school starting, I still think football will play, but I don't think there will be fans.
And I think it's going to go off the NFL. I think NFL is the ones that's going to set that standard, and college is going to fall in line. And I think another thing, when everything was shutting down, I know I was very vocal about it. I didn't understand how we could close some things and some things still be open. But we saw how long that lasted. It didn't last very long. Almost in a week, it was slowly closing, but then it just cut off. So, maybe we reopen the same way, but I think it's very hard for states and governors and schools to justify we're doing this but not this, whenever you could look at numbers of density of people at a place and, really break it down, and it's not any different. Obviously, having 61,000 people at Kroger Field is different than 200 people in a classroom, in a hall. But assuming we do have football, what's some games that Damien, what's a game you're excited to see, non-Michigan, non-Kentucky, just a game you want to watch on television?
I'm a traditional guy. Alabama and Auburn's always huge for me. I watch it regardless. It's great football. SEC, I'm a Big Ten guy, as you guys would say. I like Michigan, but as far as rivalries, it's hard to beat, and there's always competition. Auburn does every now and then surprise them, makes a crazy good play, and ruins Alabama's season, or vice versa. But they're both dynamic programs. I enjoy that game every year.
No doubt. What do you got, Ty?
Man, I agree with Damon on that one. That's one I was going with. It don't matter if Alabama was ranked 1 and Auburn was 30. It's still going to be a great game. I can promise you that. Wherever it's played, it's just a great rivalry, and I look forward to it every year.
What you did?
Yeah, I think for me that is a great one. But I tell you, and this is a game that I think it doesn't matter at the end of the day who wins. But I think the Army-Navy game, to me, I think is probably one of the best spectacles there is, because there's so much pomp and circumstance, and it doesn't typically the teams aren't great. I think Navy's been rated top 25 the last couple of years. Army's
their quarterback just got drafted 7th round.
Yeah, so and Army's had some fringe teams that been there, and way back when football first started out, Army's one of the best programs around. I just think that game is something the nation rallies around too. It's one game that everybody watches, whether they're in the north. I think the Iron Bowl is predominantly just watched in the South. People in Big Ten stuff watch it, but I think regardless of what conference affiliation that you cheer for, everybody takes a stance with the Army-Navy game. So that's my pick.
I was really looking forward to giving you a hard time about your pick, but you made it pretty difficult for me to hassle you on that one. Alabama's the gold standard in football right now, but the Iron Bowl is not the game I'm looking forward to. The game I'm looking forward to is when Alabama goes into Baton Rouge and plays LSU, because Joe Burrow and the boys came down to Tuscaloosa and they put on a show last year. So I think that'll be an interesting game. Both teams, Alabama will probably have Mac Jones starting at quarterback, but they'll have some fresher guys, some younger guys that weren't necessarily as involved last year playing, since both their rosters just got drafted to the NFL team. So I think it'll be interesting to see how much those guys hold on to that.
Hey, one thing real quick, Braxton, before we move on, just a disclaimer for the fans in the stands. Look, I don't want anybody to ever, put their health at risk, and I wouldn't want to see anybody get sick. I do want to say that. I hope we can do it in a safe way, but I understand why, for a little bit, why they wouldn't do 60,000 people. We can argue back and forth about other things, but at the end of the day, I don't think any of us would want anybody to risk, something like that.
Absolutely.
We don't have you, Braxton.
Sorry about that. We have a very good intern that works for us, but we don't have an IT guy, so stuff like that happens. All I was saying was, as a selfish 22-year-old, I would take 14 days of being sick and potentially not dying and get to watch a good football game. But I would not do that, because I would not want to hurt someone who's at risk and me be asymptomatic, because I am a caring person. But I want to watch football. So I'm going to say about that.
Such a lovely kid.
Andy, I hope I like you, Andy. I like Kentucky. So let's transition to the NFL now. Andy Dalton signs a $7 million contract. He's not going to get $7 million, no chance. But he signs his contract going down to Dallas. Dad, what's the hot take from from 404 on Andy going to Dallas.
Well, I mean, I think it's a wonderful pickup for us. I mean, we get a very capable backup, somebody that, without everything being said, he was productive in the NFL. We released Cooper Rush today. We drafted the kid from, was it North Dakota or whatever it was. So, I mean, I think it's a win-win for Dallas. And I honestly was surprised. I mean, he had options. Jacksonville, he might have been a starter there. I mean, he could have competed in New England. Like, I think it's a very good pickup for us.
Well, what do you think? It's a good pickup. Let's say Dak goes down, or let's say Dak starts out 0-3, and Jerry gets a little wild up in the press box and decides he wants to make a call. Do you think Andy could provide any more to your offense and that team that Dak Prescott could?
No, I don't. But I do think that he may be able to do some things, to at least make them competitive. If Dak, God forbid, was to get hurt, he's not as dynamic as Dak, I don't think. He may be a more polished passer than Dak, but I don't think that he makes them a better option in the East as a starter. So I don't think there's a fear if they start the season 1-3 or 2-2 or whatever the case may be. There's a threat that he's going to implant Dak, because I think Dak at some point, probably mid-season, will be signing a big contract.
Did any of you see the terms of Andy's contract?
Yeah, I think it's heavily incentive-laden.
$3 million, and then he doesn't see any more money unless he plays 50% of all the snaps, playoff win. It's something crazy. We got a caller right now. Hello, welcome to Basement Sports Talk.
Hi, guys. It's Amy from the master bedroom. I'm usually calling from the orange lot, but not since Andy's got me in quarantine.
What do you got for me, Amy?
What's going on, Amy?
I just – not much, guys. I can't hear you right now because I'm in another part of the home. But I just wanted to, call in and say I hope you're taking it a little easy on my lover in there tonight. I thought the last show you kind of ganged up on him a little, and I know he can hold his own, but I just get a little upset when Braxton, you especially, want to poke the bear and be all sassy because you're 4 hours away and you think I can't get to you and all, but you need to be a little nicer to your daddy because Mama will get you.
Amy from the bedroom has done called the producer out.
Well, I think it's important to note that at the end of the day, it's just four guys being guys, and anytime you got four dudes together, there's going to be some banter. And, you'd like to think in an ideal world that not every male would need his spouse to come in and, fight the battle. But I appreciate the call, Amy. And we'll
this call.
No, don't you hang up on.
That's Amy. And look, this is why we're doing this. I think it's important that guys can have this camaraderie, and be able to, talk a little smack back and forth. And we all have, our spouses, our significant others are protective, and we understand that. But there's a time and place. And Basement Sports Talk is not a time and place.
Listen, that wasn't solicited. That was a caller, a listener on a show, and I don't think it's smart to alienate some of our listeners. And I think, you can't be hanging up on callers for no apparent reason. I didn't. That was an unsolicited call. She's just a regular listener. She noticed that I made a very valid points during last episode, and you just ganged on me. That's all it was.
That's fair. Damian, thoughts?
First of all, I thank Amy for calling in. We'll take all the calls we can get. I'm not going to go against Amy. But I will say I rewatched the first two episodes. You boys were pretty hard on me on the Michigan ties. And I promise my wife's not going to call in.
That's how it should be. Sometimes you got to lick your wounds and get in the bed and go to sleep and get back to 9 to 5.
I just think that I think you all were over the top. Michigan came up, but it wasn't nothing like last week. Let's be honest. You all three were piling on, talking about the Cowboys. Y'all were, a season ticket.
Hey, hold on, Dad.
Hold on now.
Your sidekick's calling in. I'm going to get her in here to help you out.
Okay, get her on here.
Amy, welcome back to the show. I just want to remind you, this is a family-friendly show, so let's keep everything calm and sure here.
I understand it's a family-friendly show. That's what I thought it was when you were ganging up on my man last week. But let me just make one thing perfectly clear to you, which already knows this, but you want to act briggity, and to all the listeners or viewers. My man don't tell me what to do at any point. And he doesn't need me to fight his battles, but I'm very protective of him. And I brought you for a little boy. I'll come down there and take you out. Andy can't keep me from coming up 2 miles over the state line. I'll just come home and quarantine. You shouldn't hang up on your mother, and you shouldn't gang up on your daddy.
Mother's Day is coming up. I can't wait to spend that with you. I think it's going to be very sweet of us to be together. I just want to let you know I love you, and I appreciate that you care so much about these Lewis guys. But
well, you know that I would fight for any one of you. I don't want anybody to mistreat you, and I know it's just all in good fun. And I just want to say, honestly, seriously, if you hear me in the background, anybody, that I'm sorry. I get fired up just like you guys do. So.
We're working on that outside noise. We're trying to clean that up.
Okay.
I appreciate you being part of the solution and not part of the problem. I appreciate the call.
Love you.
Love you.
Bye, Amy.
See, there's nothing wrong with that call. See, we got good stuff, but you got all offensive earlier, and I don't understand. But that's okay. Good call by Amy.
Yeah,
So Chris, what made you feel like you were getting abused last week? I rewatched the show and didn't really see.
I literally think that. A lot of it was over. We start. Y'all still hanging on the Dak thing, Kentucky football, something talking about the schedule. I just don't get it. I don't understand it. I think Kentucky football is what it is. You all know that I'm hyper vigilant about them. I just think that as all of us are Kentucky fans, you are a secondary fan, but a high secondary fan, Damien, in Kentucky football. You're 1A, I get that. But I'm going to cheer everything Kentucky. Now, I know there's some objectiveness that has to come into play, but I think, I think last week we were a little over the top on our kind of putting down the Stoops program. Y'all just don't see the man like the way I do, I guess.
Another technical difficulty. It's a work in progress. Dad, I appreciate the soapbox. Ty, I'm gonna get to you real quick. What's your thoughts on Andy Dalton leaving Cincinnati, headed down there to Dallas?
I liked Dalton as when he played at Cincy, but because Cincy's my favorite team. I'm a diehard Bengals fan. But I think it's time for Dalton to go, and him being a Texas from Texas, a native from Texas, he'll probably be a decent backup, But of course, I don't really think it's a smart decision by Dallas. But anyway, he's joining a high class organization by far, and the coach with McCarthy, he's coached some great quarterbacks, and I know Dalton is, obviously not done with his career. He wants to work his way into another NFL starting job, obviously. And, just you got to wish him the best and, and good luck to him.
Yeah.
I appreciate the props about the Cowboys organization, too, by the way.
Damien,
I'll be honest, on the Andy Dalton thing, I think it was a great move by Dallas. I think it was a very smart career move by Dalton. He's not going to play in Dallas.
No.
Dak Prescott has missed 0 games as a starter. He could have went somewhere else and started.
Yeah, absolutely.
I feel like it's been 20 years since he played at TCU. Is that just me, or do y'all share that? I feel like it's been forever since he was in college.
Yeah, it's been a long time. How long was he in Cincy? 8 years? Is that right?
He's 32 years old, isn't he?
Yeah, I think he had 8 seasons. But, he's never came off the bench. He started every game. Like you said earlier, Chris, Jacksonville, he could have at least competed for a starting position. In Dallas, he has no shot.
Jacksonville is going to live and die with Gardner Minshew.
And
they're gonna let that ship sink with him at quarterback. They would have already signed somebody by now. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think they want it to sink, honestly.
Yeah.
I think they want it to sink. They're going to go after Trevor Lawrence. But what's Dalton do next year? He signed a one-year deal. And we all know that in the end, Dak Prescott's going to be the long-term quarterback, being realistic in Dallas. So at the end of the season, Dalton still has nowhere to go.
We got a new caller. Let's see what we got. Hey, welcome to Basement Sports Talk. Who we got?
So, Ryan McFadden, this is Trooper Mac on the mic.
Trooper Mac. How's it going down in Florida?
Oh, man, it is nighttime. Currently at work, just trying to keep the streets safe. How's everybody doing up there?
We're doing good. So are you on shift right now?
Yep, I'm on shift. About to get off here in a few minutes. Winding down, finishing up a little bit of paperwork.
You got any action?
A few crashes earlier today, but nothing too bad. Everybody's still recovering from the corona pandemic, so stuff is starting to open back up and taking it one day at a time.
Well, what's that looking like down in Florida? Are you seeing a lot more people on the road? Is stuff starting to loosen up, or more crime, or how's that looking?
Yeah, we are definitely seeing a lot more traffic on the interstates. If I'm not mistaken, today was the first day that restaurants were able to go back to somewhat normal. I think they were allowed 25% capacity at their max. So business is starting to flow in again, and traffic is definitely moving.
There you go.
Hey, Ron, this Papa Bear. Hope all is well. Be safe down there. I got a question for you. Have you been seeing an uptick in, like, domestic disturbance calls or anything like that since this pandemic has started?
So prior to so I do work for the Florida Highway Patrol now, and our primary objective is to respond to traffic crashes and deter negativity on traffic enforcement, I guess you could say. And I do work hand in hand with the county and local municipality. And most definitely, I would say, I think whenever I'm talking to my other fellow officers, it does appear that the domestics have been occurring more often. I guess, obviously, one can assume due to everybody being cooped up in one spot, you know.
Yeah, I think it is, and I know, you know, as things start, restrictions start loosening up, I'm sure your caseload will increase too as traffic accidents and people are speeding to get to their local restaurants. Just know that when Kentucky comes bowling down there this year, I'll give you the van license plate number so you can clear the highways for me.
Ron,
You know, we'll take care of it. We will take care of it. Who else you got in the chat there, Brax? I saw some of their information on them and stuff. I'd like to meet them, though.
you remember Ty? He was at high school graduation.
Yep, I do.
He's here.
Ron, I haven't seen you since high school graduation. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing very good, sir. It's been a long time. Come a long way since high school. I'm happy to say it, too.
Man, I'm really proud of you, dude.
I also appreciate it.
I got a sports question for you.
No, Bub, now you know you're going to put me in the dark on this one.
But
I listen to your talk show every time, and it's Greek to me, but we'll go for it.
well, you might know. I don't know how this works either, so there's no wrong answer. You know how? So in college football games, whenever the coaches are on the sidelines, there's always state troopers on the sidelines with them. And I know you work near Gainesville, so do you know how that works? Getting to be on that detail? Is it just a detail or?
Yeah, so they consider it more of a higher back program. Basically, you've actually got to have a year on with the agency before you can work such details. And I mean, I've got really good buddies who are offered that all the time. It's not necessarily with the coach by in his corner, but you know, they definitely need with traffic control on the sidelines, in the stands, such things like that. I assume the coach is actually given a specific trooper every season, and he travels with them out of state even.
Awesome.
But as far as this, as far as me being able to work it for say, the opportunity is there. I've just got to get my year in with the patrol.
Now, Ron, we also got Damian Jones here with us. He's one of Dad's, childhood friends. They're still really good friends. Now, do you think you knowing Dad and all, do you think him and Damien got in more trouble in high school as kids, or you think that's you and me?
Oh, Bo. Well, I know Papa Bear too now, and I know he's got some tricks up his sleeve. So
Trust me
if I know that he's it,
go ahead.
go ahead.
Now I'm saying, trust me when I tell you, and I'm being 100% honest. You boys did a lot more than I did in high school. Trust me.
Oh, I ain't buying it. I ain't buying it.
When Chris misses something first, I wouldn't always go with it.
Now I've got now that you can say a lot of things about me, but in high school now I was pretty straight arrow. I didn't mess around. Now afterwards I probably needed some revival, but I did pretty good in high school.
He might have needed a Trooper Mac in his life to keep on the straight and narrow when he got to college, Ryan.
Hey, man, let me.
Braves.
I'm very blessed and very fortunate, and my dream goal was to kind of follow in your and Braxton's footsteps, but unfortunately some medical conditions prevented me from being able to do that. And so, I hit an alternative route, and I'm now a state trooper, and I'm very, very, very thankful for the opportunity. And I probably wouldn't have been here if it wasn't from y'all's guidance as well.
Man, I know me for one, and me and Amy are so very proud of you, and we think about you every day and pray for you, because I know it's a very unsafe job what you do. Every call can be a very difficult situation. So I just want to let you know, for me and the missus, we very proud of you.
Yeah, Ryan. Kaylee, the intern here, she's proud of you, but she wants you to know that, and she's happy that you mentioned me and Dad and our family helping you out. But she wants you to not forget that if it wasn't for her and her stellar recommendations, you might not be in a job right now.
This is very true, because she was a reference of mine.
Everyone.
That's actually very true.
3 different departments for you.
And I always told you so. Kaylee was there from day one, from the
right.
beginning. And congratulations to you also on your engagement. I'm very happy for you both, and I cannot wait for the wedding and the night before the wedding for the bachelor party, because it's going to be one heck of an experience, Bob.
It's going to be a good time. Well, Ryan, I appreciate you taking the time, buddy. Be safe. We'll talk to you later.
Trooper Mac, I got a question for you before you go.
One more question.
Go ahead with it.
How many guys have you arrested the month of May?
How many have I arrested in the month of May?
Yeah.
Honestly, I couldn't tell you. I think maybe I've arrested maybe 4 or 5 people.
That's not
think
bad.
in May.
That's one a
yeah.
day.
Do what, one a day? Nah. Sometimes, man, when I get, we try. We hammer down on drinking and driving. We have a zero tolerance for drinking and driving in the state of Florida. And so any time that comes across, we have a zero tolerance with it, and we're going to make sure we acknowledge it, and we take care of that. We take that very serious. So
gotta get them out.
Well, man, I appreciate you calling. Like I said, stay safe out there too, man.
Most definitely. I love you guys, and y'all be safe. And if y'all need anything, y'all know, call me anytime.
All right. Love you, buddy.
Love you, buddy.
All right. See you guys. Bye.
See you, buddy.
Damien, I wish you could put a face to the voice and the name of Trooper Mac. But he is literally the kid you'd be scared to death to know your child's hanging out with, but you would give him the shirt off your back and know that he's a great he's awesome guy.
And he was for Amy, he was the first kid I think we met in Enterprise when we got down there at Braxton.
First kid who wanted to hang out with me and be nice to me.
And off the air, we'll talk about what his nickname was and why I about had a heart attack. But anyway, we'll talk about that off the air. But let's get back to Andy Dalton. Yes, he signed a 1-year, $3 million contract, and it's incentive for up to 7. But look at Jameis Winston. He signed a 1-year, $952,000. I mean, that's not chump change, and it can be incented up to like 4 a year to back up Drew Brees. Who? Let me ask you a question. Who do y'all think takes a snap first? Jameis Winston in a game, or Andy Dalton?
Let's go Winston. I think because Breeze is old he's getting older. I think something, as far as injury. So I think Winston probably going to be an insurance policy for the Saints pretty much. He's going to be back up there. I think he would be definitely probably more likely to get a snap before Dalton.
I don't know.
I mean, it's got to be one of the two. That's the question.
Yeah.
I agree with Ty. I think it's Jameis Winston. If nothing else, even if it's not this season, Drew Brees already signed a contract with NBC. What? He already signed with NBC, so his future is planned. He may have 2 more seasons.
Take 3 on Basement Sports Talk Radio. We're back at you live. So as we were talking about Andy Dalton, Jameis Winston, I think you got Jameis Winston got through 30 interceptions last year. He just got his eyes fixed, and there's a stat they put out a stat. It's projection of interceptions. So it took how many picks you threw, and then how many picks you threw that weren't caught, so they should have been interceptions. And Jameis actually tallied out at 40 for last season, which no one's even that's the most ever. Since the statistic has been tracked starting in 2007, it's the most ever. But you know what? He got outed in Tampa Bay. They needed TB 12, and then he was like, I want to go learn from Sean Payton and Drew Brees, which he had to respect. I think that's a very mature decision that he willingly took a backup job to learn behind those guys. I don't know how much of an option he had to. But I think Jameis Winston could actually be a success story. I really do. I think he could learn behind. He has the talent. He's always had the talent since college. And he just got the surgery. Hopefully that pans out. I think in 5 years, we'll still be talking about Jameis Winston. And in 5 years, we won't still be talking about Andy Dalton, in my opinion.
See, I disagree.
All right.
And here's why I'd say I disagree. Tampa Bay has probably the best wide receiver core in the NFL, top to bottom. If you can't complete passes to that wide receiver core, I mean, I get it. He had whatever surgery he had for his eyes or whatever. But if you can't complete passes there, I don't know. Is the issue his eyes or not being able to read defenses?
Well, he doesn't have any peripheral vision or depth perception. But what I'm saying is that I'm not arguing that he obviously has a terrible time, reading defenses and getting the ball to the receiver safely. But what I'm saying is I think it was for Jameis a mature decision, knowing he's going to be a backup, but wanting to do that where he could have got money probably at Pittsburgh or somewhere else, but he wanted to go behind Sean Payton and Drew Brees and learn from them. He openly said that he wants to learn. He just wants to learn. So I respect that decision. I think that could pan. I mean, I'm not saying it's going to. I think his head, at least according to the media, is in the right place, and I hope it does work out.
No, yeah, I can respect that decision. I get I see what you're saying. But at the end of the day, he sits there a year. If he doesn't play, what type of GM is going to take a long-term contract on that if they don't have much to go off the new Jameis Winston?
Yeah, he might inherit that team. Ty, Damon, you got anything else on NFL quarterbacks? So I think we're going to transition here if you don't have anything to add.
No, I'm good.
On Winston you was talking about there, I've done some research on him there. Looks like in 72 games, they had him down for 88 interception and 50 fumbles.
Bad snap.
That's worse than Madden stats. That's terrible.
I mean, benefit of the doubt here. I think he'd be a high impact, passer on like the spread offense or something. I can see it working out for him. Whatever.
Yeah, I agree. I think Jameis is going to need something built around him, and it's going to have to be like almost foolproof. I'm not trying to take away from his intelligence, but I think it's going to have to be like a system that's literally tailor-made. It can't go wrong. Just hike the ball, throw it, hand it off. And he can be successful, Now, here's a topic that I've been looking forward to all night to talk about, and that's rivalries. Kentucky football rivalries, Kentucky basketball rivalries. Whenever we did our homework, that was the subject. Who do you think's a rival for football? Who do you think's a rival for basketball, or both? No context, and we're just going to see, who says what. Dad, So we got to start it off hot with you. No, actually, no, we're going to save you, Dad. Ty, I want you to give me – we're going to do basketball first. But Ty, give me your basketball rivals for Kentucky. It can be 1, it can be 3. What do you think? Basketball.
Well, there are several basketball that I consider. I'll give you my top 3 that I think is pretty good. Obviously Louisville. Louisville is up there with me, and my number 2 would probably be Duke. I consider that a rival with us. I know we don't play them often, but when we do, I would consider that because it's been a rival for years. We've played them years and years and years, and I consider that a rival. And there's number 3 there is kind of hard, but I think I know a long time ago, but I think we've kind of got out of it a little bit. Indiana,
Yep.
Indiana, Kentucky basketball, man, used to be a big rivalry, and I still think that's a huge game for us.
Yeah, and the Duke rivalry, we definitely don't play enough, but when we do, they're usually high impact games. Start off the Champions Classic or the tournament. Damian, what do you got for Kentucky basketball?
I think our number 1 rival is Louisville, I would guess. Just because the only problem with Louisville is we dominate them, man. We own them. And a rivalry needs to be competitive. I don't know that they'll ever be on our level again. I don't know that they've ever been on our level, with the exception of the end of Denny Crum, maybe. Second rival, in my opinion, probably unpopular, is Indiana. And number 3, I would put Tennessee.
Okay.
We don't play Indiana anymore, but they owned us for a long time. And towards the end, we kind of owned them. I wish Cal would go back and play them, even if it's a neutral site. I understand he wants to protect his kids, and he got his feelings hurt when they rushed the 4 or whatever.
2012.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, if I'm Darius Miller, I probably see things differently. I didn't about get stomped. He did.
Yeah.
But I think it's healthy rivalry. Indiana, their fans can be idiots, but we have our fair share of that too. We're never going to rush the floor, obviously, but play it neutral, play it somewhere. I think it should be played. And as far as the SEC, I think Tennessee is the only rival we have. Maybe Florida in the last 15, 20 years. But I don't really buy into the Duke rivalry. We don't play them enough for it to be considered a true rivalry. Everybody hates them because of 92. We got our revenge in 98. Other than that, we play them because we have to in the Champions Classic.
Yeah. What do you got, Dad?
Yeah, so for me, for Kentucky basketball, I think we're all in agreement. Pretty much, Kentucky-Louisville is the main rivalry, and I agree with Damian. Since Cal's been there, it has not been competitive, and I think after today's news, with the sanctions possible against Louisville while they're on probation, it could even go longer. I think this year's team was their best chance to do anything because they maybe get hit pretty hard with sanctions. And I think the second rivalry would be Tennessee. But here's what I wish. I wish our second rivalry was North Carolina. I think that would be a great home team that would have national power behind it. I think it's a bigger draw than Kentucky, Indiana, even though Kentucky, Indiana was pretty big back in the day when we were growing up, my age. It was always a CBS game, and it had pretty good following. But I think that Kentucky, North Carolina series that happened every year would be great for the program, and I think it'd be great for the brand. So that's what I wish. Now, here's what I'm going to say. And Damian hit the nail on the head. For a rivalry to be a rivalry, it has to be competitive. And unfortunately, you all know how big and how hard I beat the drum of Kentucky football. Truly, if that's the definition of a rivalry, there's not really one in Kentucky football. I mean, there's just not. I mean, regionally, you're looking at Tennessee.
We're still in basketball.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So down there, Jimmy.
Chris, are you going to bed early tonight, Chris?
What?
You trying to get in bed early tonight or something?
Yeah, we're getting. Okay, can I say?
Wimp Sanderson's coat on. Come on.
Can I rebuttal everybody so I can have my opinion, Dad? Is that okay?
Yeah, go ahead. You're the producer.
I appreciate it, sir. Yeah, we got Louisville. It's hard to in basketball. I'm gonna preface that in basketball, it's hard to deny that rivalry. And Dad, so I just want to clarify. You're saying North Carolina is not a rivalry, but you'd like to see it.
That's correct. Yes.
And now, do you think when Roy Williams finally goes out and the next head coach they have, you think it'd be a good time to start a head-to-head with them right now with Roy Williams still on the outs? Or do you think you want to wait till they were established again, like in a perfect world?
No, I think whenever. I think if you started next year, even if Roy's on – I mean, could you imagine just how big of the draw if you knew Roy Williams was retiring and we started that? You know what I'm saying? Like that's.
Yeah, I'm just thinking year 3 when they're not any good.
Yeah, but I mean, they're not – they're like us. When we
Yeah,
lose,
you say the same thing when Cal leaves.
exactly. Just like us, when John Calipari leaves, we're going to have a downside for a couple years,
Yeah.
but we're going to be eventually we're going to be back as a top dog. We're always going to be there.
Okay. For me, besides Louisville, the only school, I guess with my Indiana is. I remember whenever he hit that shot. I was in the living room and I got down on my knees and I cried like a baby in 2012. I was like freshman year, 8th grade? I literally cried, and it killed me. But for me, Tennessee, and Tennessee's rivalry, that goes back far. We've played 225 times, and it was really important because John Maurer coached at Kentucky. He got outed because of Adolph Rupp coming in. He went to Tennessee, and that fueled that rivalry. As far as competitiveness, in basketball we've owned them. But I just hate Tennessee so much. I don't care if we were playing in cornhole. I'd want to skunk them. But Dad, you speaking of Tennessee and regionally sports, let's go on to football. I'll let you finish your statements. Let's get on the football for you.
Yeah, so like I was saying earlier, and I apologize for getting ahead. I got a little excited there. This flavored water is good stuff. I just think, like to reiterate, like Damon said, rivalry, it's got to be competitive. And unfortunately, historically speaking, we don't have anybody that fits that bill in football. I think that, we're starting to trend maybe towards being more competitive to Tennessee. They've won the last 2, but we did win 1 out of the last 3 at least. But prior to that, it was like a 26-game winning streak.
Good, yep.
So I think we can get to where Tennessee is a rivalry in the sense of the name. But I think it's always going to be the most anticipated football game and kind of where we're going to judge our whole season on.
Yeah, it tears me up that during rivalry week we play Louisville.
Yeah.
On the ESPN stuff. I hate Louisville. I despise Louisville. But honestly, if you told me we're done playing Louisville in football and we're scheduling a different out-of-conference team, I'd be okay with that. If you were going to tell me, we're not playing Louisville in football, I don't know, let's throw in a Michigan, a school that has prevalence and is a surefire top 25 year in and year out. A team that when we beat them, it mattered. And I know, you might argue, well, that Louisville's been a guaranteed win these last several years, but I'd rather have a competitive game that really helped us because, like you said, rivalry-wise, Tennessee, you look at Tennessee, we don't really have anyone else besides that. And Louisville football, I think it's a wasted game on the schedule. I could care less about the Governor's Cup. I like the bragging rights. We get all that in basketball. That's what people really care about because whenever we beat them in football, they still defer to basketball. And when we beat them in basketball, they defer back to football. So it's a circle. It doesn't end. But I'd really like to see that Louisville game either get moved or replaced completely, and I'd be okay with that.
Yeah, I agree. That stinking Louisville game, I mean, when they had Lamar and we beat them, that was a great win and helped propel our program, actually. But by and large, I think the state wants it as a whole. But I'm with you, Braxton. I would much rather us play a team that regionally or nationally is known, like a Michigan or, man, I would love a Notre Dame maybe.
That'd be
What
awesome.
I'm saying? That would be awesome. Somebody
I don't know
like
if we're there yet for Notre Dame, but that'd be awesome.
I mean, we're closer to Notre Dame than we would be Michigan, honestly.
Yeah, I'm just saying I'm talking as a team that we consistently play. You're not like a new year, like we get a new team.
Yeah.
Imagine Ohio State recruiting wise.
Ohio State?
You don't want them?
Time out.
No.
You know what I like most, Braxton, about playing Louisville in football?
What's that, Ty?
Beating them on Saturday, going to Louisville on Sunday and recruit.
Yeah, that's a good point.
That's the best part about the football rivalry with them that I know of. Beating them on Saturday, going Sunday, and getting some players right out of Louisville come joining our team next year to beat them again.
Yeah,
that's a good point, Tom.
That's my best part about that.
It tears me up because I love being a basketball school. I love basketball, but during the football season, I just want to be a football school and we're not. And Louisville just – it sounds really cocky, but, like, right now, Louisville does not bring enough to the table for us to play them in basketball or football. There is not enough reward in that risk, honestly. Bragging about the state, but I just don't think they give us enough back.
So none of you three guys like the Louisville game on the schedule as far as football?
No.
I do.
It doesn't move the needle for me, no.
But so that really confuses me because overall, I mean, since they made a legislation for us to play them, they have a winning record against us. So how do we own Louisville all of a sudden?
Yeah, they do. I mean, I get it. Statistics matter, but I'm just saying. Typically, when we're talking about a rivalry, if we're wanting to build the brand, like you all are cracking on me last week about not playing tough enough schedule, we beat Louisville. Doesn't matter. It mattered 1 year when Lamar played, and then when they had the Braun boy. Other than that, who cares?
See, Damien, in Michigan, so the Ohio State, Michigan's biggest rival is Michigan State.
What now?
Is Michigan State or Ohio State your biggest rival in football?
Ohio State.
Okay, so y'all beat Ohio State, right? That has big whenever you finally do. That has big implications. That means a lot to your program, and that is going to – if you already end up beating Ohio State and Ohio State's good, that probably means you're going to a Final Four. But for us, we beat Lamar Jackson when they were peak, and what is that? It steals the Orange Bowl away from Louisville. It won't gain anything.
But the Louisville game is not what kept them from going to a major bowl game. It's not being able to compete in the conference is what matters.
No, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying, it just doesn't – they're not good enough for it to matter.
But we have a losing record against them since they started playing again. So
okay, so are you going to really start counting the record between 1994 on? I mean, because I'm talking about today. I'm not talking about 1994.
So you're saying UK has 0 football rivalries?
I would say Tennessee, but then again, if we're going to go off,
competitive for it to be a rivalry. I mean,
okay, so 81-25 is not competitive. I got it, but at what point when you're doing a rivalry are you thinking, what have you done for me lately? Not ever, because if we were going to start nitpicking the battle for the barrel back in 1896, hey, what's that matter? We've played them that long.
So in the Stoops era, our best rivalry is South Carolina?
I'd say I would
maybe
say Florida.
Hold on now. I thought, according to my thing, we lead the series between Kentucky and Louisville.
17-15 overall.
Yeah, but you just said
since they started back in '94, we have a losing record against them.
15-11. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, you act like we don't matter. I mean, Louisville shouldn't matter to UK, but maybe UK shouldn't matter to Louisville.
Maybe, and I'm fine with that.
We don't help. It's not. No one helps each other. If you're playing 2 7-5 teams, or 6-6 teams, or a 10-2 and a 7-5, and we beat them, nothing's getting gained.
Right, but you do realize that state legislation is why they play, right? It's not going away.
We're not talking about trying to get a bill passed the House. I'm just talking about who.
No, there's not a bill getting passed at the House. It literally is legislation.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I don't care about that. We're just talking on a sports show about what we like to see, what we don't like to see. I'm not
So
going
you
to
want
talk
to
to Andy about it tomorrow.
You want to play Ohio State and get drilled every year. What does that do for the brand?
It keeps y'all out of any national contention.
Who's y'all?
Michigan, your football team, not Kentucky. We're talking about your football team.
So Kentucky has no reference to what we do. I mean, that's what I'm saying. I don't understand.
I don't understand what you're trying to. What's your point?
So what you're saying is UK has no football rivals.
Not really prevalent ones.
Okay, that's what I'm asking.
That's the point I just said 5 minutes ago, was that we, by record, we don't have anybody that we could – I guess you could say Louisville. Okay,
Mississippi State.
If you're going in the SEC, Louisville – or I'm sorry, outside of the SEC, it's going to be Louisville based off records. If you're saying, but I just think I'm kind of with Braxton. I don't think that for me as somebody that loves Kentucky, I love beating them, and I get excited for the game. And that Lamar Jackson game, me, Braxton, and Ty, we all watched it in my living room, and we all went crazy. But I think I agree with Braxton that if win or lose that game, it's almost like
we weren't supposed to win that game anyway, and it didn't really do much.
It's the same thing. We got just right now. We probably, I don't know. I just don't see that Louisville game. Is it good for us? Sometimes, yes, but in the long run, I don't like it. To be honest with you.
And I think Damian, what you're talking about rivals. If you're talking to me during rivalry week, for example, who would I want to see us play?
Mm-hmm.
I want to see us play Tennessee. Even South Carolina would be okay. But I'd like to see us play like a Tennessee. If you want to have Louisville I don't mind. Let me back up. I don't mind having Louisville on the non-conference schedule. I think what bothers me is having them at the end of the schedule during rivalry week, during all that TV exposure and stuff. Like, I just feel like, to me, it doesn't deserve all of that hype. It's really not that big as a deal. They try to make something that's basketball big deal into football big deal. I know the other day I was talking about how I wouldn't mind playing like Duke and North Carolina in football, but I'm talking just normal out-of-conference games. I don't think it deserves to be the rivalry game. But then again, you're going to say, well, who is their rival? You say they don't have a rival. I don't know, but I'd rather see us play Tennessee, Carolina, Florida, or Mississippi State in that rivalry week than Louisville.
Is Auburn, Alabama the only SEC game played that week, though?
No.
Kind of like Clemson plays South Carolina, Florida plays Florida State.
There's
kind of like an SEC-ACC tie.
Georgia plays Georgia Tech.
Right, that's what I'm saying. SEC-ACC. It's kind of it's a weird setup, honestly.
Isn't that when the Egg Bowl is?
Yeah, it's the Egg Bowl.
So there's two conference games, basically.
Who's Tennessee playing? Vandy?
No.
I don't know.
Maybe Vandy.
It may be. Possibly, I don't know.
Who's A&M playing?
Texas.
Texas? Who's Missouri play?
I
have no idea.
They don't participate.
But Texas A&M, that's just an old Big 12 rivalry too.
Mm-hmm.
They happen to move conferences.
But I think you're right, Braxton. I think after taking some time to dissect this, yes, non-conference, keep Louisville on there. I agree with you. Rivalry, I think it'd do more for the program to have somebody that matters.
I think one day, and hopefully we'll get there one day, I think you'll see Kentucky football, hopefully, with Georgia being a rivalry. I hope that comes down to that. That would be a rivalry, in my opinion, if we get to that stage. We got a long way to go. I understand that. But if we get to that stage, I think Georgia could be one of the biggest games on our schedule every year.
Could you imagine being South Carolina and having to play the SEC teams they play and then have to play Clemson on your rivalry week?
No.
Terrible. That is terrible. All right, so we got the rivalry. Y'all got any alibis on that?
What is the all-time record, Dame, between Michigan and Ohio State? Do you got that information, football-wise?
58-51. Michigan leads the series with 6 ties.
What about the last decade?
Michigan's won 1 out of 10. Ohio State's won 8 in a row. Before that, when Cooper was there, Michigan won 7 in a row.
So in the modern era, you could really kind of say that
It's not a
that's
rivalry.
not a rivalry.
Well, I mean, depends on what your modern era is. If it's 20 years like the Louisville, Kentucky is, it's pretty even.
Fair enough.
So it just depends on what you want to. I mean, yeah, Ohio State owns us. I totally agree. Like Ohio State, Michigan football is kind of like Kentucky, Louisville to me. I mean, we own Louisville in basketball. You know, Ohio State owns us right now in football. I'm willing to admit that. I mean, everybody, you can look at it and see that. I mean, it's not breaking news.
Hey, you talk because you kind of tied in the basketball thing there. What's your all's thoughts? I know that we didn't. It's just come to my head. What's your all's thoughts if they do push the football season back? How will that affect like basketball attendance? Do you think the football will pull a lot from that?
From UK?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know how many of the lower bowl season ticket basketball holders are going to football games. I mean, I honestly, I had no idea.
Yeah.
I don't either.
I think it's a little bit of different crowd at football games. You know, I mean, I think
It is.
the paddock, or what they call the Woodford room, is probably the same individual that you see in the lower bowl.
Right.
But I mean, I just think scheduling will become very, very interesting if we start playing football during basketball. So, you know what I'm saying? Like actually competing with basketball. I just was thinking about that.
So moral of the story, you know, I think we all agree is whether fans or no fans, we're just ready for some football.
Daggone right.
I'm ready to see it kick off, and I think hopefully, you know, it's not a whole summer of you turn on the ESPN radio or wherever you listen to your sports and hearing. We don't know. We can just hope. Hopefully within these next couple of weeks, we're gonna have a solid answer, so we can at least start preparing for a season with no fans, preparing for a regular season, or I don't know, going into a deep state of depression because there's no football to watch in the fall. I really don't. March Madness, and this is one last take for me. March Madness hurt really bad, especially with the team that I thought Kentucky had going into the tournament. But I can tell you right now, if they take away college football season, that is way harder on me than March Madness 10 fall night plays. And that's just my opinion. And I hope we don't get to that point. So
Yeah, I concur.
Yeah, football is just different. It's a seat. March Madness is fun. You know, it's a good way to get spring started in a sense. But football is literally like that's the whole part of the year. That's a whole segment, half of our year dedicated. And that's college and NFL because it can be hard to get into both necessarily, but especially when NFL playoffs happen. There's nothing better on TV. I love it.
Man, same here, man.
So it's so much fun. But guys, it's been my pleasure talking tonight. We got some good topics out there. Episode 6, Basement Sports Talk. Any closing thoughts from you guys?
Good night, man.
Yep. For me, I appreciate all the listeners out there. Please share it with all your friends. Please call in. We're going to start, putting up the phone numbers there. And if you got topics to talk about, let's talk about it.
Damien?
Good evening, guys. Hope that the next couple of days we get some good UK basketball news. And then let's have kickoff Labor Day weekend and go Blue, go Cats.
Sounds good. Go Cats.